WKRO 217, your news for Nowhere.
Good evening, Nowhere. This is Silas Caudwell, your hauntingly handsome host, here to keep you company through another restless night. I've been told by our producers to stop introducing myself that way, but I think honesty matters more than humbleness, does it not? Now, let's start the show off with a few shout-outs. Congrats to young Henry Latch, who finally got his shadow back after it wandered off last week. Keep an eye on that thing, Henry. I don't want to have to put out another community alert. And to Mrs. Dell from over on Juniper Street. Congratulations on winning this month's Best Carnivorous Garden. Townies can check it out between 4th and 5th Street, but she requests no persons under the height of 4 feet. She didn't provide a reason why, but I can come up with a few ideas. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the family. Do me a favor, don't just listen in the shadows. Tap that little coffin-shaped subscribe button below. That way, you'll never miss a night when the dark decides to whisper your name. And if you're already part of our nocturnal circle, go ahead and press that like button. Think of it as leaving a candle burning so the things outside your window know where to stand. That's it for our announcements. We've got something special on the line for y'all tonight. A story from a 17-year-old babysitter who deals with something worse than a dirty diaper. But let's take a few calls in first. You're on the air with Silas Caudwell.
Hey, Silas. My name's Devin. I'm 15. And I'm walking home from a friend's place now, and I need your help.
Tell us, Devin, what's waiting for you out there in the dark?
So, I cut across the old rail yard to get home quicker, and there was a stray dog. Looked mangy, ribs sticking out, whining. I love animals, so I bent down to give it some food from my backpack. But when it looked up at me, its eyes weren't right. Too human. And it stood up on its back legs.
Sounds a lot like my first wife.
This isn't funny, Silas. What the hell is this thing? It smiled at me and had human teeth. And it said my name.
What did you feed it?
What does that matter?
I ask because this may not be all that bad. I once fed a stray cat that wasn't a cat at all. Kept showing up on my porch, tail split in two, meowing in old hymns. We learned to coexist. Maybe you will too.
I don't want to coexist with that thing. I still have a mile to get home. How do I know it's not following me?
Let's work through this. Any other callers out there who know about this little smiling hound dog?
Yeah, I know exactly what that boy saw.
Sounds like we've got a seasoned expert chiming in. Who am I talking to tonight, and what do you do?
Name's Marlowe. I work the graveyard shift.
You and me both, friend.
No, I mean literally at the graveyard.
My mistake. I'm chained to this microphone. You're chained to the headstones.
Can we stop the chit-chat and get back to if I'll make it home tonight?
What you think, Marlowe?
Well, I've had to shoo more than a few of these off the graves before they made themselves too comfortable. I call them shadow hounds. They love people so much they want to become them. If I weren't around to make them scram, then they would already have gone digging to eat a few of the residents.
It's going to eat me?
Not necessarily, bud. They just want your DNA. That feller you fed probably already got it. Now he'll start the process.
What process?
I'm leaning in, Marlowe.
Well, they take the form of whatever they fix on. First step is begging for food. You feed them. You give them a bit of what makes you, you. and they've got your blueprint. They'll chew on it until there's another you walking around.
So you're telling me young Devin here has a new best friend?
There's gonna be another me.
That's how it works. Same face, same voice, but it never smiles right.
What? How can I stop this?
Well, kid, you've got two options. Either find a way to hand it somebody else's DNA before the change is complete, or get ready to see yourself hanging around town.
Oh my god, I see it. It already has my hair.
Oh, you fed it a lot, huh?
Leave me alone!
Second hang up in a week. Sorry about that, Marlo.
Ain't no trouble, Silas. Looking forward to tonight's story.
Listeners, take this as a lesson that identity theft ain't no joke. I had my credit card stolen once. Thief bought some bear spray and wine. Not sure what they were doing that night, but I'd love your thoughts on the matter. My advice to Devin, if you're still listening, stop feeding strays. Now, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Come on, kids, gather near. Your favorite snack is finally here. Sweet and sticky, always bold, with crispy wings and flaky folds.
Introducing Cricket Candy Crunchies, plump marshmallows, rich chocolate, and of course, our signature roasted crickets. Kids love the crunch, parents love the protein. Cricket Candy Crunchies. It isn't camping without the crawlies.
Cricket Candy Crunchy, oh!
Ain't just for kids. Thanks, Cricket Candy Crunchies, for sponsoring tonight's broadcast. I've been a fan of these ever since the station got that PR box last summer. Still trying to get the shells out of my teeth. If you folks don't mind topping us off, feel free to send another package. I promise to share this time. But enough of my munchin'. Let's turn from chewing to cooing. Ever find yourself in over your head at work? Tonight's caller did. She signed up to look after a baby, or at least something that wore the face of one. So let's all lean in, listeners. Please welcome to the show, Mia.
Hi. Hi, Silas.
Hi, Mia. You doing all right tonight?
Yeah, just a little weird talking to, well, everyone.
Now take a breath. I'll talk you through the setup. You were babysitting, right?
Yeah, it was about 2 months ago. I got this job through a number I didn't recognize. They said they'd heard I was reliable, which was strange because I usually just babysit for neighbors or people from church. But they offered me, well, way too much money, like double what I normally make. I remember thinking this is too good to be true.
If you knew that from the top, why did you pursue it?
I'm 17, Silas. I want the money.
Fair point, darling. I did some weird things with earwigs for money at your age. Continue.
When I showed up, it was this big house on Wren Road. I'd walked past it before, and it had this for sale sign in the yard for months. The grass had been overgrown, and the paint was peeling. Would have been a huge fixer-upper. But suddenly, the night I show up, the porch lights on, yard trimmed, house painted, looked pretty put together. Like somebody had moved in and fixed it up overnight.
Anyone in town ever mention the new neighbors?
Not that I know of, but I'm busy. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, so I shrugged it off. Plus, when I went to the door, the couple looked normal, warm.
How did they act?
Like I said, normal at first. But they barely let me ask any questions before they left, just handed me the cash and tried to walk out the door.
Elaborate on that.
Their voices were soft and clipped, as though they were reciting lines. I tried to ask about the baby. When should I put her down? What's her bedtime? Does she take a bottle? They just kept giving me short answers.
Such as?
I asked, does she drink formula or milk? And the mom said, yes. nothing else. And then I asked, how old is she? And the dad said, still small. Like, he didn't know?
Not exactly helpful.
Exactly. I even asked about diapers, and they both just froze. The dad glanced at the mom, and then she said, she won't be needing any changing tonight. But her voice shook when she said it, like she was afraid to give me the wrong answer.
And then?
They left. I watched their car go down the street, but they never came back. Not that night, not ever, from what I know.
Now don't get ahead of the story. We'll get there, sweetheart. So they leave. Take it away. I'll let you drive now.
So after they left, I wandered around the house a little. I figured if I was going to be there all night, I'd need a snack. But when I opened the fridge, it was just rows of milk, gallons and gallons of it. And then I checked the pantry, and there was only bread, nothing else.
Dinner of champions.
I didn't touch any of it. My gut told me not to.
Are you lactose intolerant?
You know what I mean.
Just lightening the mood before we get into the serious stuff.
So I went to the living room, tried to distract myself with the TV, but when I hit the power button, nothing happened. That's when I noticed it wasn't even plugged in. The cord dangled behind the cabinet like it hadn't been touched in years. I plumped it in, turned it on. The picture came through, but the only channels that worked were the old network channels. I'd landed on some rerun of Crawl and Ordeal, Supernatural Unit. Figured background noise was better than silence. I'd barely settled on the couch when I heard it, the static crackle from the baby monitor sitting on the coffee table. At first I thought it was interference from the TV, but when I muted the show, the crackling got louder. I leaned closer, put the monitor to my ear. There were some words buried in the mumbling, whispering, too soft to understand.
And the baby was supposed to be asleep?
Yeah, the crib was upstairs. I tried to convince myself I was imagining it, but then I nearly dropped it. This awful shriek tone through the speaker, the scream was not human. I don't know what it was, but it was horrifying. I immediately ran upstairs.
Towards the demonic whispers and screams?
I'm not the monster in this story. I wasn't going to let a baby die.
Very responsible of you.
Anyway, I reached the nursery door in 0.5 seconds and pushed it open.
How did the room look?
The first thing that hit me was how cold it was. The rest of the house was warm, but stale, but warm. This room felt like the window had been left open, except it hadn't. The walls were pale blue and painted with little clouds, but the paint was peeling like no one had touched it in years. Oh, and the crib was carved too. Old wood, dark, with these like swirling patterns that reminded me of feathers. It didn't look new, more like an antique, and inside was the baby.
Did the parents ever tell you the name?
Lila. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even moving at first, just lying there staring up at the ceiling, whispering to herself. The sound matched what I'd heard on the monitor, these like soft, steady whispers, like a grown woman talking under her breath.
Could you make out the words?
No, not at first, but it wasn't baby talk or gibberish. It was sentences in some foreign language. And then as I stepped closer, her head turned toward me. And then she stood up. She just rose straight onto her feet, defying gravity. When she looked at me, her eyes weren't a baby's eyes. They were too focused, like too knowing. And then she whispered my name. I just stood there in shock. Then the words that started to come out of her mouth.
What did they say?
She told me things about me, stuff no one knew. She whispered the name of my old dog that had died when I was 6. She whispered my grandma's lullaby word for word. She even whispered the secret I swore I'd never tell a soul.
Which was?
A secret I'm still not willing to share here.
Fair enough. What was the point of all this?
I don't know, and I wasn't going to attempt to have a conversation with her. Instead, I backed away toward the door. And right as I made it to the threshold, she climbed over the crib rail, just swung one leg, then the other, as a steady adult would, and landed on the ground. With both feet, by the way, planted like a cat, she stood there barefoot on the floor and began whispering my name again.
Did she come toward you?
Yeah, Slow steps, plodding one after another. Her little feet slapped against the wood, but the sound, it was all wrong, too heavy, like someone much larger was walking with her, or through her. I whispered, "Go back into your crib?" And she just whispered back, "No," clear as day. And that's when the babysitting job stopped being a job.
That's when.
Look, I take childcare very seriously.
I'd be curious if our listeners think this ever was a child.
Experiencing what I experienced makes me think no. Because as I was saying, this was the point I turned to leave. And not just the room, but the whole damn house. However, when I turned to leave, the door slammed in my face. I twisted the knob hard, like with all my strength, and pulled back with my entire body, but it wouldn't budge. And that's when I heard it. That sound rattled through my entire body, through the walls of the entire house. It was like 10 voices crying at once. Some high, some low, all of them very not human. The sound vibrated through me and pushed me back away from the door.
Sounds like my ex-wife.
Didn't you already make that joke tonight?
Go on.
I cupped my ears in pain, but that didn't help at all. The piercing reverberated through me and wouldn't stop. It felt like it was bouncing around inside my skull. I dropped to my knees, and I clawed at that knob, at that door, begging it to turn. But the harder I pulled, the louder the cries got. So I looked back, and Lila was back in her crib, watching me. And the cries were definitely coming from her, but her mouth was not moving. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was instinct or desperation, but I walked back toward her. My hands were shaking so bad, and I could barely hold them out. But the closer I got, the softer the cries became. I reached into the crib, and she grabbed my finger, tight, like a real baby would. She looked up at me, and her eyes were still all wrong and knowing, and she whispered, "Stay." Not in like a scary voice this time, but more so pleading. And I just nodded, even though I wanted to scream. And I said, "Okay, I'll stay." And finally, the lock on the door clicked, just like that, and it opened.
You made a bargain.
I don't know. Maybe. I just didn't know what else to respond with. For a second, I thought it was over. But then her grip tightened, and her little fingers, dug into mine with a strength that, again, was not human. There was a burning in my finger, and I screamed, tried to wrench it free, and finally I tore my finger out of her grip. I looked down, and there was this mark, a small dark ring wrapped around my finger, like a brand seared into my skin. I didn't hesitate to leave after that. I just bolted down the stairs, out the front door, and into the night. But just before I crossed the yard, I glanced back up at the nursery window, and she was there, she was floating. There had been nothing for her to stand on near the window, and she was smiling down at me.
And do you still have that mark on your finger?
Unfortunately.
I'll say this. You got off lighter than some of the other folks we've heard from on this show. We've had some other guests with some more concerning afflictions.
I know. That's why I try to be thankful. Thankful that I'm still here. That what I faced was bigger than me, something not meant for this world. I just wish the nightmares would stop.
The nightmares?
Or should I say, the echoes, because I never see anything, but I still hear her. I hear her screaming.
I'm sorry to hear that. Or rather, I'm sorry you hear that.
Thank you.
Nia, we are coming up on time. If you could give one piece of advice to other babysitters out there, especially the ones tempted by a job that pays a little too well, what would you tell them?
Appearances can be deceiving. Money is not worth a night with any monster.
Amen to that. Thank you, Mia. And thank you, listeners, for joining us tonight. If you have any advice for Mia or find yourself haunted by sounds of the unknown, leave us a comment. We don't have to be alone in the dark when we have each other. This is Silas Caudwell signing off from WKRO 217. May your blankets be warm, your doors be locked tight, and your ears be open. Because the night always has something to say if you're brave enough to listen.